So it's all to play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Good evening, afternoon, night, morning. Because essentially, it's probably morning where Aston Villa are at the moment, and I'm presuming that there might be some Aston Villa fans in Australia checking in at the minute. So I just might as well check all bases, kind of like the Truman Show. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night. You know, that's what he says in the Truman Show. Good morning, and if I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. How's everyone doing? How's Paddy doing? More so to the point. I get this urgent message saying we need to do a podcast tonight, and I said, "Yeah, grand, let's do it." Yeah, but
I'm not sure it was as urgent as you're making it out to me. I definitely did send you a message saying, if you want to do a podcast tonight, is the last time I'm going to be doing one for 10 days because I'm going off to the sunshine, even though by all accounts it's going to be 30 degrees here in the next few days. So anyway, it's great to get away and get the batteries recharged, we'll say, because I won't be getting up at 4:30 or 5:30 in the morning to be watching Villa. So I'll get a late breakfast with a pint and have the iPad on, and I'll watch back the games over the weekend. And we've won during the week as well, haven't we? So that's the plan, anyway.
That's the way a king would do it, Paddy. That's the way a king would do it, anyway. So live like a king. I will be doing just for anybody who's there. I don't know how if there's anybody else here that's borderline insane, but I will be up to do a team sheet tantrum at 4:25 and Sunday morning. So I will be here for a team sheet tantrum. You either fucking go hard or you go home, isn't that what they say? So I will be here for 4:25 for a team sheet tantrum. And if I'm not here, it's because I slept in, and I make no apologies for it. But I usually don't. I'm usually awake at that time anyway during the morning because sleep is for losers. So we should see you then at that stage. But no, we said we'd pop on because kind of half hoping nothing breaks between now and the end. Now and maybe next Tuesday, because I won't be like Paddy. I too will be incapacitated for a good portion of between now and Tuesday. I'm going to see Pixies live in concert, first live concert in donkeys tomorrow night. And if you think that I'm seeing that through normal sober glasses and eyeballs, you've another thing coming. And then I've got my beloved Limerick hurling in the All-Ireland final on Sunday. So once again, it's going to be a hard few days of it. So we said we get a podcast out of the way, and not out of the way because we love doing them, but we said we get one this evening between the two of us because Paddy's gone away on holidays. And look, I suppose the big thing is I'm going to start off on a family note first, so that everybody can put the kids to bed and get everyone up before potential swear words start to fly later on. But I'm loving the pictures and the content and everything the Villa are putting out about this tour. I think they've done an absolute bang up job from a PR point of view, and I think Villa TV are putting out some really great content, even from the guys going to see the nature reserve to getting the Wallabies rugby team involved and stuff like that. I think it's absolutely top notch, and they must be commended for it.
Absolutely. It makes for great viewing when you're so far away. It gives the British public an idea what it's like for us to look in from a distance and not be part of it. So like we've got fans all over the world, so why not be spreading and casting the net as far as Australia? And you know we've got two very high profile friendlies coming up, plus a local one in between, which we're going to get and pick up a load of new fans from. And it's important. It's really important. But like we will get on to the big talking point of the day, which of course is Nathan Collins, but we'll get to that in a few minutes.
You robbed it. I was actually going to do that. I was going to do that at the time when I came to the big talking point. I'm going to have to switch to Courtney House now. Just keep everybody guessing. But yeah.
But look, we'll get that one out of the way because like I'm totally in the same court as you. I told you 2 weeks ago that a conversation had taken place between Aston Villa and Nathan Collins. And in fairness to Nathan Collins, he's decided to go for footballing reasons. He figures he's going to get a game. And for somebody who has aspirations to captain his country, I pat him on the back and say, well done, son. If in a couple of years Wolves aren't doing it for him and he wants to come, by all means, he's more than welcome. But he's going to cost us a pretty penny in a couple of years. It's unfortunate. I know how much you love him, and that's why I'm taking over this one, because I'm sure you're a little bit sad and you had a couple of whiskeys last night and drowned your sorrows. But we're back to reality today, and that is the harsh reality, that you've got somebody who wants to continue playing football, who wants to progress, and it shows just how far we've come that a player is making a decision like that to go and play for another club.
Yeah, I remember when you messaged me, it was after I had, obviously I've been putting it out for the last almost 2 years into the ether how much I love Nathan Collins, and when you messaged me about 2.5-3 weeks ago and said there is genuine conversations going on here, I was like going, oh my God, if he signs, I literally, it could be a naked podcast. Like, it could very easily become a naked podcast very, very quickly. And I don't know who would enjoy that. But yeah, look, he's gone to Wolves. Look, from a completely selfish point of view, it would have been great to have him as a Villa player. But he's going to learn how to defend really well at Wolves. You know what? One thing Bruno Lange, or whatever his name was, could do at that club, or for the majority of the season, was able to marshal that defense and make that defense really, really mean and stingy. And yeah, fair play to him. You know, he's going to go there. I just, you know, he's going to blossom wherever the hell he is. So fair play to him, and he's gone, and he's not going to be with Aston Villa, and now he's dead to me. So that's just the way it goes.
Is that the end of the podcast?
No, that's not the end of the podcast. That's not the end of my love for Nathan Collins. But yeah, look, I suppose there's other things that kind of broke today as well, Paddy. Obviously, we had an interview with Steven Gerrard. I thought it was a good interview. I like the fact that he, look, obviously we're going to be talking about Chukwuemeka, and we're going to be talking about Anwar El-Ghazi, we're going to be talking about Courtney House and stuff like that. But I love the way he basically just sat down there, and I think he's beginning to feel like he's the boss now, if that makes sense. I think last year when he come in mid-season and he was trying to juggle the results with his authority, and he had to kind of juggle the two of them together, because, you know, it's difficult to come into a dressing room and the days are gone where you slam your fist on the table and you say there's a new sheriff in town. Kind of the days are gone from that. But I think now he has them in a different country. He has them halfway around the world. He's running them, and they're doing their hard work, and I think he's beginning to feel like he's boss, and I like that. And I think what he came out today was to say, right, we're turning the page, and this is my regime now. And I think today was very much that. And I think it very much showed that he has the compassionate side when he spoke about Anwar El-Ghazi, and he put the rest. Look, we know that Anwar El-Ghazi, if an offer comes in, he will leave, you know, and that's not a secret. We can't sit around here and fart around the bush about it, but that's the reality of it. But they've done him a solid by not dragging him halfway around the world when his first child is due to be born within the next week. And that shows the empathetic and the compassionate side, and the side for the Steven Gerrard that says, well, I understand that life gets in the way sometimes, and it's not ideal, and I know you'd like to be down here with us, but this is going to be potentially the biggest moment in your life, so stay at home. Courtney House, obviously, he didn't come down because he would have just been a spectator, a needless spectator, and everybody knows how much I love Courtney House, so they left him at home. And then he kind of bore his teeth and clenched his fist a small bit today, and he said, right, good and all as you are, Carney, that offer has been there long enough. You've been dicking about with it. It's been on the table. You either need to tell us yes or you need to tell us no, but you haven't told us anything at the moment. So stay at home, play with your age group. You're balling out. You're absolutely playing superb for your age group, for your country. Stay at home, train with your age group, okay? And when you start acting like a full-time Premier League footballer, where you've got the balls to tell us what you're going to do, well, then you can come and you can start playing with full-time Premier League football team. But for now, if you want to do this, if you want to do this dance, stay at home and do it. And that's kind of my view on it as well. And I don't really have much more to say than that on the matter. And I'm going to let you take it from there, because, like, I was always taught the phrase that, you know, you have to earn your place at the table before you can start to fill your plate. And like, maybe he's quite the footballer. Like, let's not get ourselves in the way of that. He's really good, and no one's denigrating that. But, you know, at the age of 18, 19, guys, you know, they're like, if the YTS scheme was there, he'd still be earning 25 quid a week, and he'd be fucking delighted for it. So look, that's my side of it, and I'm going to shut up about it now, because I can talk for an hour.
You say he's a good footballer. Is he? Do we know? Do we know he's a good footballer? I tell you what he is. He's a footballer that should not be demanding what he is demanding. And I can't even put a figure on that because I don't know for sure. I think he has an agent who every footballer in the world should have, because he's linked them with every big club in Europe and he hasn't an arse's roar of signing for. There's obviously one club in for him and they're trying to shift it away. So, for me, if we're not going to get the money we want from him, I'd let him rot and use a year of his development if that's the game he wants to play. But the one thing I will say is that Steven Gerrard, for me, came of age today. I think to stand and speak to the fan base about an issue that everybody is pissed off over. Let's face it, that is exactly it. We're all pissed off that we have this young fella who hasn't exactly set the world on fire, yet has had opportunities to play Premier League football under Steven Gerrard, and before that with Dean Smith. And the best we could hope for, or the best we've seen from him, is run 10 yards of the ball and whack it off the foot of the post against Spurs. Other than that, I don't recall anything magical he did in a Premier League game. Now, I do take the fact that you said, at his age group, yes, absolutely fine. He looks like a man amongst boys. He was very good for England in the Under-19 Championships. But I totally stand behind Steven Gerrard. If that contract is sitting there, as we believe, since the start of last season, and there's obviously been no dialogue about it, well, good luck to him. We may draw a line under it. And I have said on here many times that a friend of mine is close to Carney, and apparently he says that he could still sign that contract, and he still hasn't lost hope. Up till 5 o'clock today when he messaged me, he was still hopeful that Carney would sign that contract. But look, 19 years of age is not the age to play hardball. If you can negotiate a decent wage, a 4-year deal at this stage of your life, go on that decent wage. If you tear the Premier League up next season, off with you. Give us the funds that we deserve for nurturing you into the position you're in. So, for me, I'm very happy with what Gerrard did today, but on the other hand, I'm disappointed with how the whole thing has been handled by, not really Carney as such, but definitely by his agent. I think it's bad business to be doing that to a child of his age, because let's face it, he's still only a child.
And you read on Twitter, all this stuff on Twitter that, that it's I don't know if this is true. I'm going to preface this. I have no idea who his agent is, but you read this on Twitter that his agent's shining light. He's his agent's cash cow, and it's I don't like. I want to say something, but I don't want to come across as being really, really crass. But you know what I'm going to get at there, like that it kind of goes back to when Sterling had that agent when he was leaving, not the same agent, but an agent where Sterling was his cash cow when he was leaving Liverpool. And yes, he left Liverpool and he went to Man City and he made good of himself. And the same thing could happen of Carney Chukwuemeka. He could go to Barcelona. He could go to Dortmund, whoever it is. All these clubs are being named somewhere, shape or form, but none of them seem to be throwing contracts in. They can't until January. I completely understand that, but we will know. And this will rumble until January, one way or another, because we're not going to sell him. We're not going to sell him this year. The club have nothing really to lose. If at the moment he's not going to sign a contract, no club is going to come in and give us 10 million for him at this minute in time. But every club is going to want to sit him down at the table and make an offer to him in January, because they think they can get him for an arbitrary fee. And so the club have nothing to waste, or nothing to lose, should I say, by waiting and hoping that club go away and offer him X amount of money, and that he comes back and Aston Villa have offered him more. Because by all accounts, we've offered him a very, very handsome wage, and it's a case it's a case that, yeah, that's essentially it. I don't want to go into it more because I don't know. I don't have any information on it, and sometimes you can say something on a podcast, and then all of a sudden it can become hearsay on whoever. And I'm not saying that we were the fucking reason for any of that, but I've just seen it with other podcasts. Something is mentioned as a throwaway comment, as a potential or an opinion, and then before you know it, 3 weeks later, you're still reading it on Twitter. And I don't think it's fair to comment on it's his money either. I don't like it's his fucking money. I wouldn't like if there was anybody in the world commenting on my money either. But at the end of the day, I know I'm getting paid a fair wage for the work that I do. I'd love to get more, yes, but apparently.
Well, I just think that at the end of the day, and we had this conversation on the podcast not so long ago, that this is not Wes Eden's club. This is not Porslow's club. This is our club.
Our club.
So we are entitled to be pissed off at the fact that this guy can walk away for nothing. Be that the club have made that decision. Be that we just have one greedy agent trying to negotiate his way out of this. The rumour is that he looked for double than what Villa were looking for. I don't know what the figure was, but that was the rumour. If that's true, I find it very hard to believe that he's looking for double that. Surely it would be a handsome enough wage for a 19-year-old to probably retire after a 3-year contract.
And isn't that's correct? This was the original thing when Steven Gerrard first came in. Sure. Or even the stay in the last year, it was he wanted guarantees of playing time, and he played 18 times in the Premier League last season. I think it was 18. Yeah. I don't have the statistics in front of me. I heard that on another podcast today that he played 18 times. So if he's talking about barriers to progression or barriers towards the first team, like he just doesn't have those anymore. So now it must be 100% down. And I think Steven Gerrard made that kind of put that back in his court today and said, "We offered you a contract, you haven't signed it. The money is there." But
now he does have a barrier to progression, and the barrier is himself. Yes. Nobody else. So that's an absolutely rubbish argument. Now he can't use that ever. He was given opportunities. He strolled around the field and looked disinterested when I saw him play. Obviously there's a player in there. He's not a Premier League player yet. He's certainly not a Barcelona starter yet. He's probably not a Borussia Dortmund starter either, on all these teams that are being bandied about. And look, if he left this year and we got a couple of million for him, I would happily say good luck to you. I'd be annoyed, but I'd much prefer that than have someone sulking in the background. But I think the overriding point for me tonight is that Steven Gerrard, to me, became our manager today. Yeah, he looks like somebody who's capable of making those hard decisions. And I haven't seen that yet since he joined. He made that today, and for me now, he has my total backing. Because I thought, he looked like a guy that wanted to be everybody's friend. You see him when somebody arrives at training, he's hugging them, he's all hands, his arm around the shoulder kind of guy. But as you say today, he bore his teeth and went, "No, Carney, you can stay at home. You don't want to sign your contract. Why should you get this opportunity of a lifetime to go to the other side of the world to witness or experience the magic that Australia has, play a few games, play against teams like Leeds United and Man United, be on the lips of everybody in Australia, be on the lips of everybody in Birmingham and throughout the world, and all those new fans that are supporting Aston Villa. But you've chosen not to sign your contract, so off with you and play with your own little boys that you're shining amongst."
And look, this is no, like, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to say, like, yes, I am an Aston Villa fan. I am fickle. That's what we said to David O'Leary all those years ago. And I'm going to go to my grave being a fickle fucker. Like, I'm going to go to my grave being very fickle, because it's my prerogative and it's my right to be so. If he signs a new contract, I'm just as easily going to sit here and say, I'm delighted he signed a new contract because he has all the talent in the world. We're not saying that he doesn't have the talent. He absolutely 100% does. What we're saying is the commensurate, like where he is at this moment in time based on where he could be in 3 years' time and what the rumors are out there that what he's looking for, there's something here that doesn't tally up. He's not a Pedri. He's not a Gavi. He's not a Nico that I'll play for. He's not a Jude Bellingham. At this moment in time, he doesn't have those minutes underneath his belt. Last season, I just checked it up here. Last season, he played 12. He had 12 appearances for Aston Villa in the league. I know he had a couple appearances and stuff. 12 appearances in the league. He played 301 minutes Premier League football last season. So if you're paying on potential, that's absolutely fine. I have no problem on that. But I would imagine that the escalators and stuff like that built into this contract. So we might be talking. I'm just going to pick a number out of the top of my head. Let's say the club have offered him 40 grand. Okay, I would imagine that there's escalators built in there based on minutes played, assists, goals, in year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5. And I can imagine that could jump from 40 to 80, 90, to 50, 60, 70 very quickly. The club aren't stupid. That's the way contracts are done. And we can all sit here and fool ourselves that they aren't done like that for young kids, but they are. Okay, that could be I don't know what's there in the table on the table, but for somebody who's got 300 minutes, this is the galling point, and we're well within our rights to sit here and talk out of both sides of our mouth and say he has all the potential in the world, but for someone who's only played 301 minutes last season, I think that it's a bit of a kick back in the face of the club for what's been rumoured out there. And once again, we don't know the ins and outs of this. We're going on what we're hearing and what we're seeing, and here saying third, fourth, fifth, and specifically all coming from the internet. So this could all change in a week's time. Carney Chukwuemeka signs a 6-year deal, and Villa give him the money that he's looking for. Who gives a fuck at the end of the day? If Villa want to pay him 70 grand, 80 grand, 90 grand, 100 grand, 200 grand, 500 grand a week, who cares? If Villa can afford it, they pay him.
The one thing that's blatantly obvious today is Gerrard and Porslow and Lang have made the decision that no, you're not getting what you're demanding. You're getting what we feel you're worth. And if you don't want to take that, fine, go and find yourself another club. I don't know what he's on at the moment. Probably
no.
A few grand or whatever it is. And I'm sure the club are in a position to let him rot there until next year and ruin a year of his development, which would not be good for any party. So
no, and I don't think the club want to go down that route either, because you get
the point I was getting to is that I'm totally with you in that I would love to be lying on the beach next week and to see an announcement come on Twitter that we have signed Carney on a long-term deal and we could nurture him and make him possibly a similar figure to what Jack Grealish was for us, and him have another 4 or 5 years in our first team and build a team around him. And we can't keep going to the well for more money and buying more players. So if we've got a player like that sitting in our youth team, the best thing is obviously to nurture that and bring it on and make sure that we have a viable £100 million player in 5 years' time. I don't know if he'll ever get to that stage. I probably doubt he'll ever get to that stage, but for sure, it's just the attitude of all the soundings that we're hearing that annoyed me. But I will tip a glass next week if he signs a long-term contract.
Outside of Jude Bellingham and Harry Kane, I can't see another English footballer going for 100 million anytime soon. And at that, I can't even see Harry Kane going for 100 million because he's going to be 30 within the next 2 years. And as long as Conte is there, he ain't leaving Spurs. So, I suppose we got to weigh that up as well. That I think we broke the English transfer market when we sold Jack Grealish. In a way, it doesn't become the new barometer of what players are going to be sold for. And you just have to look at Calvin Phillips this year. Calvin Phillips goes for 45 million. It makes me itch inside my skin that they didn't play hardball with Man City. But look, them's the breaks. Apparently, West Ham offered more money. I'm not going to get into that because I've war on in DMs and Twitter over that I feel that every club should be gathering against Man City as opposed to upping their coffers and so on with this cash. But and letting them get away with buying players for cheap. But look, that's a podcast for another day. Anyway, let's move on. I suppose just to draw a line under it, I think and I hope I'm if I'm misspeaking for you, Paddy, here, pop in. But I think the party political line of For the Love of Pomegranate podcast is very much on the face of you're either with us or against us at this moment in time. We feel that by all things that have come out, Aston Villa have made you an offer commensurate of where they feel that you are at this moment in time. I would imagine that offer has escalators in it left, right, and centre. You're stalling on the offer, potentially based on advice from your agent or your financial advisors. And until that gets sorted out, the club are kind of are taking a road that you need to make the decision now. We can't do any more for you, based on 301 minutes of football last season. And if he signs, we would be as happy as every other Aston Villa fan in the whole entire world. This isn't a negative on Carney Chukwuemeka. This isn't two-footed in. It's basically telling it the way it is at this moment in time, the way we see it. And yes, there is a small bit of emotion in it because this is the club that we love.
This is the comment
Gavin Steele.
113 people watching and only 4 likes. Hit the like button. It's easy. Don't be a shower of carnies.
And KFW, sorry, a couple of ones there. Chukwuemeka is arguably better than Sanson. Definitely has the potential to be way better than Sanson. Absolutely way better than him. But if a player doesn't want to sign a contract, what more can the club do?
I think that was in response to Shane's comment there. He said, "Lads like
Sanson." Sorry, I didn't see that one. Yeah. Apologies.
Yeah.
I did not
so
see that.
We've spent good money on Sanson, and we've spoken about it many times that he needs a good he needs a good run in the team to see if he's going to be any good, and if not, we'll ship him out. And I'm more than happy now to row in behind Gerrard now that I see that he's not just a guy that puts his hand on your shoulder. He can call you out when you're being whatever Carney is being. So I trust his judgment a little bit better, and I can see now that he's going to be a tough nut to crack. And you know what? Maybe we've seen Carney or Gerrard come into his own, because everybody said Michael Beale was the brainchild and Michael Beale made a lot of decisions. Maybe this is Gerrard making decisions himself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, Declan Rice. Where is it? Declan Rice for 100 million. People are saying Declan Rice for 100 million. I'd take that bet that he mightn't go for 100 million. I don't think City would pay 100 million for him. And that's one for another day. And I think City are the team that he will go to. I don't think Chelsea pay 100 million for him. I don't know. Not that he's not worth it. I think what it is not that it's not that he's not worth 100 million, but I don't think the Premier League clubs are going to be, as Flahu looked, giving another club 100 million again, like Man City were with Jack Grealish. That's what I mean here. It's not the players aren't worth this money. It's more so I think the clubs are going to try and want to needle each other. And plus, I don't know that Declan Rice signed his new contract. If he hasn't signed his new contract, well, then his value is dropping. I knew Matt Hayes. It's like Matt Hayes has this
best comment of the night.
Matt Hayes has this absolute beacon for Declan Rice. Whenever he hears it on the internet, he just jumps in straight away. Anyway, let's move on. Diplomatic relations could go right down the pan here if we start talking about Declan Rice. Fantastic player, but just what could have been.
Just anyway. A snake.
Yes, this thing. There was one there from Jet Fumes. Yes, as well. More room for Jason Knight. Jason Knight's on his way to Werder Bremen. Ireland are going to take over Italy and Germany, by the way things are going, because there's a lot of kids going over to Germany now as opposed to going to the UK because of Brexit. It's as hard for them to get work permits and stuff like that in the UK, and plus they can't leave until they're after 18, if I'm not mistaken, Paddy, now to go to the UK. So there's actually an influx of young Irish kids into Italy, specifically into Udinese, Sampdoria, AC Milan. Rob Heffernan's young fella, Cathal Heffernan, signed for AC Milan, and he's getting games for their underage teams at the moment. And also players joining the Bundesliga. And Jason Knight is one of those guys that's joined. It looks like he's going to join Werder Bremen. And Werder Bremen are doing some serious business since they've been promoted. So definitely somebody to look at there. We already have Conor Noss, I think, at Mönchengladbach, if I'm not mistaken.
Kevin Zeffi there.
Zeffi is another guy. Kevin Zeffi is another guy in Milan. Yeah, absolutely. That's a digression anyway into the underage structures of Irish football and where they're being flung in the world at this moment in time. I had another question and it's gone out of the back of my brain. Keenan Davis. Yes, that's what it was. I was trying to figure out whether Keenan Davis was actually on tour or not, and I asked the inimitable and the wonderful Ashley Priest, and he's on tour, and I didn't see the pictures of him there, but I think that's really interesting because it hasn't gone away about himself and Forest, and it was only today that there was more real strong links to himself and Forest, him signing for Forest again. Steve Cooper seems to love the ground he walks on. He seems to think he's going to be a great foil for their strikers, and Lewis Grabban rejected their deal of a contract, even though they've been promoted to the Premier League. Lewis Grabban has decided to move on to pastures new, and it looks like he will probably stay in the Championship because he's a fantastic Championship striker. So they're going to need a bit more of a brutish player.
He knows his level.
Maybe so. But I sometimes forget he played with Aston Villa on loan that time, but he came in and he did a job for us, and he got a couple of goals, if I'm not mistaken. And
he did all right. He was not He was.
But sure, we were struggling for a striker at the time, and he came in and he absolutely, he did the business for us, but it just wasn't to be. But Keenan Davis could be somebody that moves out, and I think, Paddy, the more I think about it, Steven Gerrard won't end this summer without a striker.
I think a lot depends on what Cameron Archer does in the next few weeks.
But I think even with Archer, I think we might bring in a striker. Louis Barry's gone on loan. That's another thing I meant to say. Louis Barry's gone on loan to MK Dons. So, like, you know, if we're calling up players from the youth squad, I don't know will Brad Young get a call up to the senior squad anytime soon. Not that he's not good enough. I think that if we were to have that tactical flexibility, and let's just say Davis goes out and Ings gets injured for 6 games, you know, having only 2 strikers for me is going to be difficult. And maybe he goes with Bertrand Traore. I don't know. Am I happy with him just having this? Oh, Bertrand Traore can play up there if possible, or we'll go to the 2-10 system. It still kills us from a flexibility point of view. And I think that Gerrard understands that, because he spoke about wanting to go long in cups, and he spoke about wanting to go in the league. And he brought this up with Augustinsson as well, to say that he wants good backup players that can come in and hit the ground running and be there in key positions. I think he's going to see that striker's position as a key position, because yes, Cameron Archer just scores when he wants, but an injury or two there, and only having Cameron Archer on the bench as the only recognised striker in the squad, I think it's a bit dangerous.
Yes, I agree with you. I do believe there's money to be spent. I don't think he sees Keenan Davis as a long-term future striker of Aston Villa. So I think Keenan will go no matter what. I'm sure if Forest don't buy him, there's already people sniffing around to bring him into the Championship after the way he tore it up last year, whether that be on loan or whether it be a straight buy. But we'll find out soon enough. But I do believe we need a striker. I do believe we need another midfielder. There's a comment in there from KFWH. We either need to buy a number 8 or make Dougie sign a contract. I think we need to do both, but that's just my opinion.
Both, yeah, because I don't think Sanson is going to be here.
Maybe not, but even no matter what happens, I think we need to do both. I think Dougie is a good enough asset to have around the squad. I think he'll get plenty of game time, but I do believe we need one more player in there for sure. And by the looks of it, looks like we're finished in the defensive setup at this stage. We also brought in Augustinsson.
Yes. I can't see yes, and I think I think after hearing Steven Gerrard today, I wonder, has he had to sit down with Freddie Guilbert? It'd be really interesting. I think if Freddie Guilbert starts on Sunday morning, I think that'll tell us an awful lot. Or if he plays 45 minutes. If he doesn't get 45 minutes again, because he's clearly in Australia, if he doesn't get 45 minutes again,
I'm sure he'll be asking questions.
On the wall. Yeah.
But you see, I think the rawness of Kane Kessler-Hayden will be exposed against the likes of Leeds or Man U. So I think if we don't see him in either of those games, if we don't see Gilbert, that is, I think we're looking at him going out the door as soon as somebody comes in with a good enough offer for him.
Right, and I think the other thing as well with Gilbert is Gilbert only has 1 year left in his contract, I'm led to believe. Could be wrong on that, as I don't have it up here, but I think he's only 1 year left in his contract as well. So, I think it would be a contract the club would be okay with, would be okay with running down. Yeah. As long as he stays with the club and things like that. And I think that might be doing him a good service, as opposed to just selling him to the club who offers the most money, because you could put him into a disadvantageous situation there as well. So I think sometimes in those situations, a player might look and say, listen, I'll run down my contract and I'll go back to Strasbourg for loads of money then at the end of the season. Yeah. If that makes sense.
And look, me and you are big fans of Kane Kessler-Hayden. We spoke about him at length at the weekend, so we're not doubling up on him here or anything.
No.
It's just a case of, I think he's just not quite ready, but he will be ready. But I think another year in a higher league than he was previously would do him the world of good. So I think if he got a championship move to, I don't know, someone at the top end of it, I think that would be really vital for his progress.
Would you like to see him? I know people are saying championship loan. I'd nearly even like to see him go back to MK Dons, and Louis Barry plays on both the left and the right, but let's say we put him in that right back position and Louis Barry plays out wide right for Lee Manning's MK Dons. might be something to do there. Look, I know that's not what's going to come into the thought process of the loans manager and so on, Adam Henschel. But yeah, it's something to bear in mind that, look, if he does go back to League One again, it's not a failure on his behalf. They'll pick the club that they think will work best for him.
Yeah. And in fairness, Seb here says he understands where I'm coming from, but Ken Kessler-Hayden looked very good at Man City in the Cup. The one thing about that is he was playing in the League One, Swindon he was playing it for, and he was locked on the edge of his box. He wasn't doing what Gerrard wants the fullbacks to do, which is get up and down the line. He was very comfortable on the edge of his own box. He tackled well, he defended well, but that's not going to... He needs to do both things, which he has both of the things in his locker, but can he do both of them together? Not quite yet. He's just a little bit raw for me.
Yeah, I agree. Well, it's not even that he's raw. It's just a positional thing, and it's what you get from young fullbacks, and it's completely and utterly fixable. So I'm not. I don't have any. Like, Ken Kessler-Hayden will play a fair share of games for Aston Villa in the fullback position. I have no doubt about that at all. What was the other one? Yeah, Louis Barry, MK Dons. I kind of went on to it there for a small little bit. I think it's a great place to send him. Lee Manning's a really good coach. I put a piece up on Twitter about Lee Manning. There's quite a lot to kind of... There's a lot of links with Lee Manning and things that are going on, because at Bury, somebody sent me this actually. I think at Bury, he was the assistant, I think, at Bury, just before the shit hit the fan with Bury, and he was there with Ryan Lowe. And we all know Ryan Lowe. Ryan Lowe is at Preston North End now. He's the guy who had Archer, busy mates with Stephen Gerrard. Lee Manning also was there, and now has forged his own, has ploughed his own furrow. Plays a real high possession game, high pressing game. You have to work. He's going to work Louis Barry to within an inch of his life, and he's going to ask an awful lot of him. But he's a real good coach who will get players up to standard. And I'm completely going to hold up my hands. I said more or less the exact same thing about Paul Cook at Ipswich last year when Louis Barry went to Ipswich. But what happened was Louis Barry was one of something like 16 signings that summer, and the club didn't have a clue where it was going. It was following its arse around the place. And of course, Paul Cook, if I'm not mistaken, got the bullet at that club as well. So it didn't really help. I think from day one, that club was destined to eat itself. So Louis Barry's going into a lot more stable situation now at MK Dons with a really, really good up-and-coming young coach as well. And I was happy to see that. Yes, it's a League One club, and once again, that's what I'm saying, that he's been put into a position to help him, as opposed to giving him a championship berth, and then maybe he only sees 2 or 3 or 4 games over the course of the season, and I think that would kill him again, because that's what happened to him at Ipswich. Absolutely. Yeah, so I think that's going to do it. I know we meant, like, I don't have any clue. I mentioned there that I think Villa are going to sign a striker. I don't think it's going to be Luis Suarez at this stage. I have no idea what kind of striker they would sign. I have no idea who's even out there at the moment. Pickings are getting slim in the striker department the whole Europe over, unless you're going to spend 60, 70, 80 million. So I think it's going to have to be an inspired choice that comes in, a kind of a money ball type signing. And I'm okay with those. They create as much excitement as anything else. But until something like that happens, we're going to park that conversation for now. But I think that's going to do it for tonight, guys. Just to let you know what the kind of plan of action for us over the next few days is. I don't envisage we're going to have anything out between now and probably next Tuesday, due to alcohol consumption. So we're being very open and transparent on that. The only thing that we will have out is we will have a team sheet tantrum before the Leeds game, and potentially we will have a very short post-match as well. I'll be on the move, so I will be doing it on my phone, and I'll be doing it on my own. But I will be watching the game, and I'll be delighted to pop on specifically for the team sheet tantrum. If you guys want to join me, if you're that mad, or if you want a post-match review of it afterwards, we'll do something on that as well. But in the intermittent stages, unless there's a big signing, I don't think you'll see us until for the bones of the next 5 or 6 days anyway. Paddy, go away and have a deadly holiday. Don't be worrying about me at all. Don't be looking to come on podcasts now and messaging me and everything like that to get stuff off your chest. That's what the barman in Torremolinos or wherever you're going to is for. That's what he's for. Get your stuff off your chest to him. Where are you off to, actually? No. I never even asked you.
I'm going to Malta.
Malta.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Would you look at this? Huh?
Can't
Scouting.
wait.
Yeah. Going out there
Funnily enough, my son, who is as big a football tourist as I am now, has reminded me that Hibernians, because they lost to
yes.
Shamrock Rovers during the week, will have a Europa Conference game next Thursday and wants to go and watch it. So if they get drawn at home, hopefully we get a nice draw and we'll get up to that next Thursday. It'll be something to watch while we're there.
Absolutely. And didn't get there in time. Yeah, Valletta, of course it is. Of course it is. My old geography teacher would murder me in my sleep for forgetting what the capital of Malta is. Yeah, so listen, have a great time, Paddy. We'll miss you. And in the meantime, if anything pops up, we will pop on. As I say, I'm looking forward to the Leeds game. Thanks so much, everybody, for joining us tonight. Please give us a thumbs up if you liked what we were talking about. Even if you didn't, it doesn't cost you anything. Give us a thumbs up. We really appreciate it. Thanks a million for everything you do. If you didn't catch my chat with the Academy AVFC earlier on this week, I popped it up on YouTube today as well. It's about an hour long. It's worth the listen. We go through an awful lot of stuff in it, and we're going to be having Academy AVFC on quite a lot over the course of the coming season. I absolutely gelled with him, and he's a gentleman of a man, so I will be getting him on as many times as he absolutely wants to come on to talk about the Academy over the season. So have a look at that. And as I said, thanks very much to everybody here. You know, all the familiar faces are here. We really appreciate you coming back to watch us and to give us those thumbs up on YouTube. So go away, have a good couple of days. The sun's going to be splitting the rocks here in Ireland and in the UK or wherever you are in the world. I hope the sun is splitting the rocks. Hope Villa get a win at the weekend. And until we see you again, guys, all that's left to say is up the Villa.
Up the Villa.